Everyone, happy podcast day, as Jess likes to say. Jess is not with us this week. She's out on a beach somewhere soaking up the sun. So I'm going to fill in just a little bit because Amy's going to do pretty much all the talking today because she's the one that's very smart on this subject matter, much smarter than I am. So for those of you who do not know, my name is Ben Herring. I am the Vice President of the Citizens Advisory of Pennsylvania, and this is our weekly Citizens Advisory podcast. I'm joined today by Amy Carrozza, who's our second vice president. She also is the chair of our policy and curriculum committee, and she does all the research when it comes to what kids have access to in schools, which is a very important topic. And I think that's very germane to what parents want to know is what their kids are looking at, especially when they're in a school setting and not at home. Clearly, that's important. So I do want to bring up a few quick administrative notes, though. We are now live on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. I believe you have to look under podcasts there. I don't know, not too smart on that one. Samsung Podcasts, and very shortly we'll be on Apple Podcasts. Looking forward to that one. So please share this podcast in whatever mode you're listening to it, as far as wide as you can. Clearly, we want to make sure that all parents in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and even further on get the message that we're trying to share with everybody. And as we get, motivated, patriotic parents like Amy here that do a lot of the heavy lifting to get the information that we need, it's just as important to make sure we share that with as many people as we can. So, secondly, we are just about wrapped up. This will be episode 15. So I think we've covered a lot of the priorities that we have as an organization. There's 8 priorities. Clearly, they're going to change over time. But when we talk about Title IX, CRT, divisive curriculum, SEL, things of that nature, we've done a lot of podcasts on those subjects. So I think that we're going to start to get into where we're going to try and bring some guests online here. And we want to talk to some of the leaders, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania on what they're doing. Group leaders, folks that are grassroots just like us that have just taken action, got activated by what's happening. So if you're one of them, I actually would challenge you or put the invite out to you to reach out to us, Citizens Advisory of PA at protonmail.com. Send us an email. Tell us what you're all about. Tell us what good things you're doing, especially if they hit the 4 corners of the state and all parents can, get some benefit off of what you're doing. Certainly reach out. Let us know. We'd love to have you on. We want to get some different voices. We want to get some folks that we don't know are out there today to get on this podcast and talk about the issues. So this episode today, we're going to be talking about the literature in schools. And that's a different way to say it. I'm sure you've heard all the quote book banning that folks like to say. There's no banning of books per se. It's reviewing literature that might not be suitable for children. Amy's going to talk all about that today. But that's the topic of today's conversation is going to be what to look for in the libraries, ensuring that there's age-appropriate material in schools, and if there's not, how you're supposed to go about getting it removed or bringing it to the attention of an administrator who might not know about it. I say that's probably unlikely, but there may be some that don't know about it. But Amy, again, has done all the heavy lifting on the literature concerns and what's out there in our schools. So I'm going to let Amy take it away and guide us through how to get smarter on the subject.
Oh, thanks, Ben. Well, as you'll see today, actually, there are a number of people that have done a lot of the heavy lifting and a lot of the work already. I think everybody can remember during COVID, seeing those Facebook groups and even on the news, parents reading real explicit, obscene, vulgar excerpts from books at board meetings. And it just made everyone sort of think like, well, are those in my school? Or are those, there's no way that this would be in my school. And we get requests to find out, like, how can I see what kind of books are in my school library? So we've been wanting to do this for a while. We just had a bunch of other stuff that seemed to be just as pressing. So finally we have the day to do it today. And when, like Ben said, when we're talking about age appropriate books, we're not, there's so much misinformation about groups wanting to ban books. We're not about banning books. This is about age appropriateness. And the problem is with books, it's not like movies. It's not like, music or even TV shows. There are no warning labels that come on the cover of books to let the reader know this is explicit, this is over 17 material, this is adult material, or this contains, this type of topic, to give a warning. So sometimes it's not until after your student is exposed to it that you even know this kind of content is in the library. So first, I want to just show you, a lot of people just don't even know how to find out what books are in the library aside from going to the school and looking through the shelves. But the good news is all of the libraries in schools are now, like at least the card catalogs, are online, and you are able to search the books online. And I'm going to show you two different ways that you can search. I'm going to first show you on Valley West, because this is the typical way to find a library you'll see when I show you. So I'm going to share my screen here.
Amy, while you're pulling that up too, I think
Yeah.
it's super important too that, at least from my standpoint, and I think I share kind of our organizational, look on this as well, which is we're not about erasing history. We're not about not teaching kids something that we should never repeat again. But again, I think you hit the nail on the head, which is we have to ensure that it's age appropriate, and you don't get to just walk into a library, or you shouldn't be able to walk into a library, pick up a book that literally has pornographic material in it. Because what if your child doesn't know any better, looks at it and says, "Oh my God," and comes home and says, "Mom, Dad, look what I saw at school." So, and I know you're going to talk about that, but it's not
Right.
about the
No.
history. We don't erase history. That's a misconception that they love to use in the media. That's not what we're talking about.
Right. And I think that there was a time when maybe the books, like there were groups that were trying to ban certain books like To Kill a Mockingbird or Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn, because of their depiction of slavery, or Anne Frank. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the obscene, potentially like criminal, actually like activity that is depicted and described in books that has recently come to light. It's definitely in the more recent years that we're seeing this trend of more explicit pornographic type material. So can everybody see that I'm on like the Valley West webpage right now?
Yes, ma'am, we're good. We can see it.
So under students, and this is typical for your district, when you find your district website, it's usually under a student resource type tab. It's called, for Valley West, this Follett Destiny Library System. So you're going to click that. And when you do, you'll see usually a breakdown of all of the schools that fall in that district, and you can click on where you want to do the search. Once you're in there, you're usually able to also click on the entire district, so you don't have to go school by school, which makes it easier. Some schools, though, however, do not allow you to search by district. You would actually have to search by individual school. But I just clicked the high school, and you can see that there is a find button. This is where you would type in the title of the book, the author of the book, or if you wanted to go by subject, you could type that in. This is the location, and this is where, like I said, you can actually, at least for Valley West, and I believe I also looked at Lake Lehman, you can search by the entire district, and when the book comes up, it'll actually tell you which library it's in.
And this
So
is the
this
most
is where
prevalent, Amy. This is the most prevalent. This
yes,
Follett
this
Destiny.
is the Follett Destiny, and if you look at the web address, you can actually tailor it. This is how I was able to go into other districts. You can tailor it for your school, such as mine for Valley West is www.sd.follettdestiny.com. If you put in the Lake Lehman, I think if it's LLSD, you get Lake Lehman. Whatever your school uses, that's probably how you can get in if you cannot find a link for your specific like once you go into your district, if you can't find a link for the specific library, you can try just just using this as a, as the web page. And also I'll show you, there's a little on the other resource that I'm going to, well, actually we should just go there first. This rated book, sorry. We're going to go to, hold on here. Let me pull it up. Ratedbooks.org.
That's pretty easy to remember too, right? Ratedbooks.org.
Oh yeah, it is.
I think that's one that folks can remember pretty easily.
It's, yeah, and we'll show the link so everybody can get it. But on the on this ratedbooks.org, you will find, you can browse books, you can find rating systems. This is where you sort of, because once parents know how to actually search in their library, then they want to know, well, what books should I even be searching for?
Right.
And this is where the work has already been done for us. This group, and they pretty much, I believe, started out of Utah, and then they've added to it. But they have already done so much research on the explicit books that so much so that this is the perfect starting point. So if you go to ratedbooks.org to browse books, you can, here's where I was mentioning, if you cannot find the link to your school library off of your district website and the Follett Destiny information doesn't work, you can click search your school, and there's a YouTube video that this girl does explaining, using the Follett Destiny model, how to find it. So that would be your last resort. So let me just go back out of there. But she explains how to search for your school if you can't find it on your district website. But I believe you'll be able to find it on your district website. So let's go to the part that most people want to know. What books should we be looking for?
Absolutely.
So this this ratedbooks.org has a content rating that goes 0 to 5. This is apparently, I'm not a librarian, I don't know, but apparently this is like a type of rating that is MPA. I don't know, but it must be a widely used way of rating content. And I don't know if it's based on like maybe movies or I don't know exactly where they got, which rating. I think if you wanted to, that there's links to show how these ratings came about. But in any event, these are the ratings that you should start with. And I will just point out, like, 0 is mildly, like, there's nothing that is inappropriate for anyone to read. So there's no issues with zeros.
Amy, let me ask you a question real quick.
Sure.
Content, the group that puts out these ratings, one of the other questions that I think always comes up is, it depends on who's actually doing the rating, right?
Yeah.
Do we know, or maybe we can even look into this?
If it were to come, yeah, this is I believe it's based on various lawsuits.
Okay.
And I don't know if it was back. There was like something called the Miller test, and I mean there is a whole science behind where these ratings come from. And then this actual website, they actually say, like, if you go down, if you have questions about it, you can email them. They will explain how these ratings come about. But this is used in all of the parent groups that I've found that rate books. They use the same 0 to 5 rating. So
okay,
it's something that is universal, at least with books. And I know that there is some type of legal, something behind it that they just didn't come up with it like on their own. But the ones that are I think the best place to start are the 4s and 5s, because these are adult materials under 4 and 5. We're talking like a lot of people under 18 perhaps shouldn't be exposed to the things that are in these types of books. So that's a place to start. I can safely say for Valley West, I checked all the 4s and 5s. We do not have in Valley West at this time anything above a 3. But that's based on the online catalog. And I do want to say that doesn't mean that 4s and 5s aren't in your district, because we know that there are lots of groups that donate books to libraries, or teachers are allowed to, go off of the library and choose their own books for their curricula. So keep that in mind too. It's not just because it's not on your online catalog doesn't mean it might not be in there.
Yeah, do some extra checking on that one for sure.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's go to I showed you a little bit of the rating system, but I don't know if you want to see it like a little bit up. When we're talking 4s and 5s, we're saying here, right here, it'll tell you like no minors, adult content, no child under 18. This is number 5 is very deviant, apparent sexual activities, a lot of assaults, that type of thing. And I know some of you might be thinking, well, there's no way that that's in a school library, but I can tell you that we'll show you that it is. Even some 3s, some parents might not want their child to read it depending on their age, but I know like some 3s you'll even find some 3s in middle school. Some districts are finding 3s and 4s even in some elementary schools. So now that you guys have the tools, you'll be able to look and see for yourself if this is the type of material that you have.
And that's criminal.
So,
and we're certainly going to talk about what we can do. If you find
right.
a 3 or a 4 in elementary school, we need to talk, right?
Yes. So let's just go here to the spreadsheet. This spreadsheet is something that I would encourage everyone, if you have the capability, to just go ahead and download. And that way you can tailor it if you want to your school district, or tailor it to your specific school. But also you can then search by the date that it's added, because this website, I know they add probably weekly various books that they have researched and found. But, I would say the last year, 2022, 2023, the most explicit have been added, as you can see. So right now it's sorted by, it looks like the 5 rating. So these are the ones that are really explicit, and I would start here during your search. It also, this is something that they just recently added that I really like. It'll explain whether this book contains the LGBTQ theme, racial discrimination, or either of those. And this is important because a lot of, again, the misinformation out there is that the books that are being removed have to do with LGBTQ or marginal or minority groups. And that's not true. As you can see, a lot of these real bad ones, they don't even have LGBTQ themes. They're just pornographic. They have nothing to do with race or gender identity, anything like that.
When they say theme, Amy, they're talking about the storyline is perpetuated by their like the LGBT, let's just say that, right? If it has a theme of that, they're trying to push that in the book, right? That's what it means.
Yes, it'll be like a character. Maybe one of the main characters will be gay or bisexual or trans. So then it would probably fall up. It would be a yes theme, just because one of the main characters, or even if one of the main characters isn't, that is spoken of in the book. Like classmate is trans. That's where the theme part comes in.
Got it.
Okay, and then the tabs, they actually separate the 0 through 3s as a separate tab. And then when you find a book that you want to just like, say your child comes home and says, I was assigned this book to read, you can search, see if it's here. I know that Lucky was one that was assigned to high school students. So they have a link to then the rated report. And this is where you will be it'll prove to you this definitely deserves this 5 rating. So we could I don't know if we want to click on one, or if we want to go back and like search a school. Let me show you. I want to just go to Dallas, because Dallas School District is a different school district. I don't know if they don't use the Follett Destiny, but they have a different way of searching on their library. So I just want to show another way that you might be able to search for.
And Amy,
books.
right? Alert, parents that are listening to this from the Dallas area. They've been okay on some things in our area. But this is us letting you know you need to be on top of this, because apparently Dallas is sneaking in books, or somebody might not know about it, maybe. But
Yeah,
this is not good. This is
yeah.
not good for Dallas.
I will say, out of the intermediate unit 18, Dallas is the worst offender for the number 4s and 5s books.
Wow.
So, which is hard to believe, but I don't know if it's because maybe the librarian is more, you know, in line with, is it the ALA that's pushing
Yeah, the
all of the,
American Library Association. Yeah.
like if they were sent to one of those conferences, they might have even been donated some of those for free, because those are the books that are getting donated for free to the schools.
Sure they are.
Okay, so let's go to Dallas. I know, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around, but let's go to the Dallas district website. You would go for Dallas under students, again, for the resources. Here they have the Atrium Library. So you would click on that link. And now Dallas is a district where you're not, unfortunately, able to search for the entire district at one time. You would have to go by each school separately. So we could start with the Dallas High School. And it just looks a slightly bit different than like the Follett Destiny that Valley West uses. But let's just search. For instance, I'm going to show you. Tricks is one of those books that is a number 5 on the list. So I'm going to, and here it is. It's located at the main library. And you'll see it collects 5 stories about 3 girls and 2 boys who question how they feel about themselves while learning about love and sexuality. Even that doesn't sound that bad. But let's go back to that Tricks that is on the spreadsheet from, well, here it is. Browse books. If I put in Tricks by Ellen Hopkins, I will bring it up. And here is where they have their book rating review, and then little sheets that break down excerpts. So here's the book rating review for Tricks, and it'll tell you right here, it's a 5, content warning. And this is the summary of concerns. This book contains sexually explicit excerpts involving minors, explicit child rape, abuse, illegal drug abuse, graphic violence, underage alcohol consumption, and adult and child prostitution. But it doesn't, thankfully, these ratings don't end with just a summary. They actually show you per page. Now, this is something that I do have to note. Sometimes we're noticing that the pages might be a little bit off, but that's because of different formats that the books are printed in, like, hardcover versus soft cover versus the online version. So the page numbers might not exactly match up, but they're going to be close. And you can look individually. They literally will take everything that would need a content rating and show you each specific page. The fact that there's 17 pages on this book alone tells you that's probably why it's getting a bad. It's very explicit, having to do with sex and a lot of profanity, and not just sex. It's very descriptive and it's violent. Roll down to the end of these ratings, they also do a number count for the real profane language. So if profanity is something you don't want your minor to, they do a count. So you can see, this is how many times these things are mentioned in the book. So yeah, you also can look, let's go back to the Dallas Library. So you start to notice, once you're in that spreadsheet that rated books created, there's certain authors that are repeat offenders. Ellen Hopkins is one of them. Um, Ellen Hopkins, Colleen Hoover, they do a lot of, they're very popular with teens, and they get high reviews on Amazon. They get pushed a lot, even in Scholastic book fairs, which is crazy. But you'll start to find out that this author doesn't just write one real, raunchy novel. It's a bunch of them. And so let's see, like if I put in Ellen Hopkins for Dallas, yeah, she writes a lot of books, and I can tell you almost all of them are going to be 4s and 5s from what I've come across, and all of these are in the Dallas School Library.
Sounds like some of these people have some psychological issues going on, for real.
It's either that or they literally don't realize, they don't take the time to look. I would think that the librarian would know, because I think they have to, especially if it's been a new book, they have to like read it or at least do research on it. But
Right.
perhaps the administration or the school board wouldn't know. I don't know how the process works. But when you find these books that are in your school, there's a number of things you can do. You can reach out to the administration, find out if there's a process for challenging books, find out if, and even if the very worst case, if they can't be removed, perhaps there can be a section devoted in the library that would require parental consent, or even a warning just for students to know, oh, this is, even sometimes I think a warning label or a section would prohibit some students that know, well, my parents wouldn't want me to read this, or, I don't know if I'm ready for this type of material. That kind of thing. It doesn't necessarily mean complete removal. Even worst case, even though I feel like these books should never see any minor reading them, but
Absolutely.
right. Anyway, the other thing I want to bring up, I know a lot of people say, at least like when I tell my kids about this, well, we don't even go into the library. We don't read, we don't check out any library books. And I believe that's true. Nowadays, everything's online. But these tools that are on this website, this rated books website, and the spreadsheet, they can be used to just search any book that gets assigned to a student. In fact, my oldest daughter, was assigned for 2 summers now reading material to read over the summer and write like a little summary. And both of those books I found on this spreadsheet. They were both, one was rated 3, one was rated 4. The one that was rated 4, I found out too late, and she read it, and she actually told me it made her uncomfortable, because this was the first time she was exposed to some of the content that was in there. This is the type of stuff that like parents don't even realize. Ask your children, ask their teachers when you go to meet the teacher night, like, what books are going to be assigned this year? And then check here. You don't even have to read the book. All the work is done for you. You can find out what type of book your kids have just been assigned. And most teachers have to offer an alternative if parents can test it. So that's good. I think.
Well, that's also in our opt-out too, Amy. So one thing that we added in there
Exactly.
too is you have the right to either you can opt out of that if you find something like that, because the teacher, again, if it's incongruent with the parents' religious, moral, philosophical, upbringing, then that's something you really need to look into. And I think, just to add in here real quick, Amy,
Yeah.
one of the issues that we're seeing too is that you got some of these books going into kindergarten, first grade, talking about genderbread man. And just like you said, when you have a child that comes home and says, Mom or Dad, I just saw something in the library today and I really need to, get something out of my chest. Like, I wasn't comfortable with that. It's getting all the way down to the very beginning of schools now, which is why it's becoming such a hot topic and such a big thing, because first graders should not be learning about gender. These kids don't know. Some of them are still learning how to ride a bike without training wheels. Why should they be talking about gender? So it's the content and the substance that's the real issue, depending on what grade level we're talking about.
Exactly. And that's what's great too. This website, you can check like some of these books here, these are, for little kids, and they might be rated a 2. They're rated a 2 because it brings up issues that might not be okay in every family to talk about, or age appropriate for elementary age. So you will see they have done a tremendous amount of research on books, and they are wanting additional. Anytime anyone finds a book that isn't already on this list but would fall under any of these categories of the ratings, you can send it in and they will add it. There's a number of organizations, even close to us. I think it's the No Left Turn in Education out of maybe it's Allentown or Phoenixville. I
They're
forget, but
across the whole tri-state. They're in Jersey too, so they're all over the tri-state. Yep.
But I know, I think the one I think there's one chapter that's out of Phoenixville, maybe the No Left Turn Education chapter, and they submit things to this website to be added. There's also a Facebook group that is Laverna in the Library. That's the Facebook group that they take members, and they on a regular basis will update new books that are added to this list. They work hand in hand, and they will also put any new legislation that's been presented to try to curtail all of the pornographic material that you're seeing, because people are using First Amendment rights for kids as a reason to keep all this material in, and they're not realizing
and that'll never fly. Yeah.
And we don't have we don't have porno movies for kids to check out. Like that's the stupidest argument.
It really is. And I think it's been proven too that lewd and obscene is not a protected First Amendment right. And I think folks are going to find out really quick. But we got about 2 minutes left, Amy, and I just wanted to say, real quick, that if a parent finds a book, by the way, this was extremely informational. I greatly appreciate this. This is going to be very helpful because I didn't know half of what you just said, and now I do. So this is great.
Oh, well, good.
Yeah, no, this is excellent. So we, as always, if you're a parent out there and you're listening to this, and you go and you check and you find some situations, some books, some literature out there that you need to report, and even if you're unsure of it, even after listening to this podcast, reach out to us. As always, citizensadvisorypa.com or citizensadvisorypa.com, is the website. Citizensadvisorypa@protonmail.com is our email. Shoot us an email. Let us know what's going on. We'll be happy to look into it. Again, Amy is by far the expert here, so she can help guide you through the process if need be. But again, thank you, Amy. Very informative. This is outstanding.
Sure. I just want to reiterate too, like, to be able to help anyone. I just wanted to end on something that I found extremely important. And this you'll find on the ratedbooks.org. I think I have like 2 minutes, but it's written by Dawn Hawkins, who is the executive director of the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. I believe pornography will follow the trend of the tobacco industry in public perception. Pornography today is pervasive and popular, similar to smoking in the 1950s. But as the harms become public health approach across the country to address it, changes your brain, the chemicals. And when we have minors, we want to keep them safe and innocent as long as possible. So we want to keep this crap out of schools.
Absolutely. God bless you for what you're doing.
Yeah. Thanks.
So, all right, folks. Well, please check us out on our website. Again, it's citizensadvisorypa.com. There's no of in there. We also just, as we spoke about today a little bit, we have an opt-out form that we published. That's also up on the website if you want to use that. There are some criminal statutes of, that we're looking into, that if a school willingly is trying to distribute obscene pornography to children, we're going to look into that. Rest assured, we're going to look into that. So keep that in mind as well. As always, if you like this episode, check out some of our other episodes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're listening to this on any of the other platforms, certainly subscribe there as well. So thank you again for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this. We'll be back next week, next Friday. We'll do this all over again. Thank you, Amy. Signing out here.
Thanks, guys.